Okay, so today let's talk a little bit about Battlefield 2042. You might have noticed that I'm not posting videos on the game at the moment, and that might seem weird because I've been playing Battlefield games for nearly 15 years at this point, and I've covered the last 5 of them here on my YouTube channel. I basically built this YouTube channel on Battlefield. But considering I'm getting lots of comments, not just on my own videos, but when I'm playing with friends and they're live streaming, people in their chats are asking me why I'm not posting Battlefield 2042 videos. So I thought now would be a good time to just talk about that. There are several topics that I want to cover in this video. Some of them will be more obvious to you, and others are a little bit more personal, but let's just get into it. So first up, I just want to talk about the launch. This is really where my issue stems from. Before launch with the open beta, that was the first time that I played the game. There was no feedback sessions at DICE this time around. I wasn't invited by the DICE team or EA to see or play the game early. And I think that's likely due to the global pandemic physically stopping those in-person events. But I do also get the feeling that the team developing the game, they just wanted to push forward with their own vision, largely unaffected by anyone outside of the team. So at that open beta phase, my first video using actual Battlefield 2042 gameplay, I said the game was spectacular in terms of scale, but it was very rough. DICE put out various assurances during that open beta period and afterwards that the bugs, the performance issues, the balance was all being worked on, and that by launch, many of those issues that we were seeing, they wouldn't be there anymore. But unfortunately, that didn't really happen. Launch came around and the game was just as buggy, just as poor performance-wise, and balance issues with content beyond what was shown in the beta became more and more prevalent as days went by. After about 2 weeks, I'd not only gotten through the initial wave of excitement that this was a new Battlefield game, one that I'd been waiting for nearly 2 years for, but I damn near exhausted all of the content that was available as well. I'd ranked up almost all of the weapons in the game and unlocked all of the attachments. I'd played every map in All Out Warfare on Conquest and Breakthrough, and concluded that I only really liked 3 of the maps on the Breakthrough game mode. I played through Portal as well, experiencing some of that older content, but it didn't really feel like there was actually that much there, if I'm totally honest. I'd endured nearly constant bombardment from overpowered vehicles that clearly hadn't been taken into consideration during testing. I'd suffered countless end-of-round screens with cringe-worthy quips from specialists that had replaced our Battlefield classes. The list just goes on and on. After those first 2 weeks, the issues just started to compound because they weren't going away, and they were becoming more and more frustrating. And these are largely the same issues that many of you watching this video will have faced. And this ultimately led me to just stop playing the game. Despite 3 significant updates before Christmas 2021, unfortunately those updates only sought to try and solve issues that were stopping the game working as it was intended, like lots of bug fixes and balancing. But my issues, even in those first couple of weeks, they went deeper than that, and really, no quick turnaround patch is about to fundamentally change how a Battlefield game works just a few short weeks after a launch that the DICE team had been working towards for the best part of 3 years. And of course, hindsight, it's a wonderful thing. It's very easy for me to sit here now and say perhaps I should have been more skeptical of the larger changes that Battlefield 2042 was making compared to previous Battlefield titles, but I think I got carried away with the excitement of a new Battlefield game, one that was promising to right a lot of the wrongs of the previous title. Unfortunately, it's done absolutely nothing of the sort, and if possible, I think it's plunged the franchise to even greater lows at this point. After those first 2 weeks of enjoyment, playing with my friends, experiencing a new Battlefield game together, the underlying issues, they just started to loom larger. The content that launched with the game, it just wasn't engaging enough to keep me interested. And when you consistently encounter issues time and time again, that just stops being fun. And video games should be fun. That's the entire point. And unfortunately, I realized that I wasn't really having fun playing Battlefield 2042 anymore. Next, there's been the reaction to the game itself. If you guys followed my content during the Battlefield 5 days, you'll know that I was a part of the community that was micro-analyzing everything that the development team did, both good and bad, and then reporting on that through my videos. And I was a part of the voice of displeasure, let's say. I actively chose to fully step away from Battlefield as a franchise when DICE dropped support for Battlefield 5 in early 2020. Two reasons. Because at that point, I realized that there wasn't going to be any content for me to work with, and I had a YouTube channel to run and a job to do, and I needed to earn money. But also, I'd become someone that I didn't really want to be. Instead of giving good, critical, constructive feedback, I was looking at my videos and I'd just become a whining voice. I was complaining each and every time something wasn't fixed or adjusted, as had been suggested by the community. I was always chanting from the rooftops that the game just simply wasn't good enough. And I'd become a really negative, pessimistic person. And it wasn't just affecting my job and my YouTube channel, it was bleeding into my everyday life, and I could feel that I just wasn't very happy. When Battlefield 2042 was first revealed and we got to see what looked like the answer to our collective feedback that we'd been giving for years at that point, I stepped back in, but this time with a clear head and a focus to make sure that when I was making my videos, I was providing more constructive, critical commentary again, as I did in the Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 4 days. And I think I maintained that during the Battlefield 2042 marketing campaign, through the open beta, and then on towards the launch of the game. But after launch, after that first couple of weeks of fun, when I started to really see the large cracks underneath the paper, I could feel the negativity starting to come back out of me, and I could see the negativity in the wider community as well. There was more and more discontent in the player base as the days went past, more and more feedback just pouring in that the game wasn't good enough, the game wasn't what was advertised, the changes that had been made to the core Battlefield formula, they weren't good for the franchise, and those ideas were actively threatening to kill the franchise off. And well, I just didn't want to start that whole process all over again with my content. I stopped that when Battlefield 5 was cancelled, and because it took me to a pretty dark place, I vowed not to go there again. I didn't want to let myself or my content slip back into that same mindset that I had for my Battlefield 5 coverage, which was, it was really emotionally driven, it was really harsh, and there was a real personal tone to it, almost as if what was happening with the game was personally affecting me, which at the end of the day it shouldn't have been, because it was just a video game. The tone of the wider community, though, around Battlefield 2042 is going back to that level that we had around Battlefield 5, and I didn't want to be part of that, so I just stopped making content along with not playing the game anymore. The reaction to 2042 of disappointment that the game is nowhere near the level of quality that a Battlefield game should be at, that is actually a feeling that I share with a lot of people, but that's just it. It doesn't go beyond that into some of the anger that I've seen in some parts of the community. Of course, decisions were made, mistakes were made, clearly, and this is where we are with 2042. It is sad and disappointing to once again see Battlefield at such a low point, but it doesn't make me angry, and I didn't want my content to start reflecting or associating with some of that anger in any way at all. I know that when I make videos, it shines a light on a certain situation, whether that's a good one or a bad one. And in the past, my content has kind of been used as like semi-evidence within a community to try and inflict some change. Unfortunately, in the most recent past, the way my content was rallied around and utilized, it ended up amounting to more hate, more anger, and toxicity towards individuals working on teams that were just trying to make things better. And I'm not going to let that happen again. It's not fair, it's not right, and I refuse to make the same mistake twice. I'll just vote with my feet. I'm not enjoying Battlefield 2042, so I'm not going to play it. I'll just walk away for a bit. There are several things, of course, that I think DICE and EA need to do in order to try and repair the damage that's been done here, and I genuinely hope that they can pull it off, because I love Battlefield, and I think Battlefield 2042 as a concept is a really cool idea. It's just executed extremely poorly. I'm not going to go into the reasons of what I think DICE and EA can do, because it's been suggested by so many other people in the last few weeks. But my hope is that EA allows DICE the opportunity and the time to do what needs to be done, and I hope that DICE can execute on what needs to be done. But it is an extremely long road ahead, and currently, as the game sits right now, it just doesn't entertain me in the way that I hoped it would. There are too many core issues for me to ignore and continue playing the game anyway. And since the last time this happened with Battlefield 5, I've put more value on my own time, and I don't want to spend it being negative and pessimistic, putting energy into something that is unlikely to change and improve for some time to come, or just exhausting my energy repeating the same things over and over and over again until the team responds. So right now, like many of you, I'm just simply waiting for EA and DICE to communicate what they're going to do with Battlefield 2042. Whether that's a doubling down on their current vision and sticking to their guns, or a pivot away from the original plan and doing something else. I'm just waiting to see what their plan is, and also what their plan for future content is, because, again, like many of you, I bought a version of 2042 that includes the first year's battle passes, all 4 of them, set to include new specialists, weapons, vehicles, maps, and a few other things. But we've heard absolutely nothing about that since the launch, and we're close to nearly 2 months after the launch and there's still no new content in sight. Most other titles start to deliver their content, their seasons, very, very soon after launch. I think Vanguard started theirs almost instantly. I think it was just a couple of weeks, and we're still waiting for something to happen for 2042. So I'm not playing Battlefield 2042 right now. I want to play it in the future, and I hope that I do, but until DICE and EA come out and tell us what their plan is, I've got no interest in playing a game that doesn't entertain me. So hopefully that's answered some of your questions about why I'm not playing Battlefield 2042. I think the last day I played it was December the 17th, and I just have absolutely no urge to go and launch the game and play it right now, because I know absolutely nothing has changed since that point before Christmas. Of course, the development team has been off over Christmas, and that's absolutely fine. You know, they should be able to go away and enjoy Christmas and the holidays with their families. But I do hope that in the near future, DICE and EA do come out and address what's been happening, and they tell people what they can expect from this game moving forwards. I'm not really sure what that's going to be, but I hope it's a positive one, and I hope it's something that the community can respond to and they can rally around. Because at the moment, there's just a lot of disappointed Battlefield fans out there, and they haven't really got a Battlefield game that they really want to play. So hopefully in the future, DICE can turn 2042 around, and they can deliver a Battlefield game that their community does actually want to play. But thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you all soon.